Hello and welcome back to Fallout 76. Once again, I'm at the Rusty Pick and I'm going to be buying 25 ranged weapons with 2,500 scrip. Hopefully I'll get something good I can mess around with, and let's get right to it. Let's start things off with a bang. First one is going to be an Exterminator's Tesla rifle with last round and +1 perception. Exterminators, it's one of those enemy specific things we don't really care for. Last round, not a big fan of that, and +1 perception. With Tesla, generally you want it to be a quad. There are other prefixes that you can make work, or other combinations, but this isn't one of them, so we'll just move on to the next one. And we've got a Juggernaut's lever action rifle with damage while aiming and 25% less AP cost. Okay, well, damage while aiming is an out of VATS effect, and reduced AP cost is a VATS effect. Juggernauts is okay, it's a mid-tier effect, not my #1 choice, but those second and third stars don't go together, so this is a miss. Next, we've got a Vampire's Tactical Gauss Shotgun with Stealth Field and Replenish AP on each kill. Replenish AP on each kill is okay. You will tend to kill things pretty quickly with these. They do a lot of damage, and Vampires is good. Recently discovered on shotguns, at least for me. It's a very good effect. Overall, this is a decent 2-star. That third star is not any good. It's a decent 2-star, but nothing... this character's not a shotgunner, and this isn't tradable, so this probably won't be something that I'll use. Next, we've got a Bloodied Short Plasma Pistol with last round, ooh, my favorite effect, and +1 agility. Generally not a fan of getting specials on weapons, so that unless it's strength on a melee weapon, but on a ranged weapon, not really a fan of that, so that third star doesn't do it for me. Last round sucks. Bloodied is good if you're playing that way. This is a full health character, but it's basically a 1-star, so I wouldn't be saving it anyway. Next up, we've got a Juggernaut's Pepper Shaker with 50% VATS hit chance and +1 perception. Well, I've already talked about how I'm not a fan of specials, at least on ranged weapons. I don't typically think of this as a VATS weapon. I kind of think of this as more a heavy gun that you're just either going to hip fire. I mean, it's really good at crippling if you use the right perks, so that's not something you're going to be using for VATS. You're just going to kind of spray and pray. So that VATS hit chance probably isn't going to be useful. And Juggernauts, it's okay. It's a mid-tier effect, but other than that, this is not that interesting. I like that I'm getting a different mix of weapons. I don't care for the effects I'm getting, so maybe they will change right here. Nocturnal Short Ultrasight Laser Pistol with critical damage and reload speed. Okay, Nocturnal, extra damage at night, so I'm not a fan of that because during the day you're going to not get any bonus at all. Critical damage, big fan of that effect. Reload speed, I'm not really a fan of reload speed on something like this, unless you're going to manually aim, and then if that's the case, critical damage isn't any good, but the AP cost is so high, I really want reduced AP cost on energy weapons just in general, just because the AP cost tends to be so high. Next, we've got a Junkie's Lever Action Rifle with critical damage and 90% reduced weight. This is actually pretty good if you are playing as a Junkie. That will give you up to 50% if you have 5 addictions. Critical damage, always a good effect. Reduced weight, not super useful, but with this, I'd be okay. I mean, if you get a solid 2 stars in a lever action, I think that could actually be pretty good. I wouldn't be as concerned with the 3rd star, even though you would like it to be pretty useful. Next, we've got a Ghoul Slayer Short Handmade with last round and damage resist while reloading. Okay, I don't need extra damage against ghouls. I never need the last round effect, and damage resist while reloading. These reload really quickly, so that's not really going to do much. Plus, I tend to wear armor, so yeah, this is a miss. Next, we've got Anti-Armor Western Revolver with weapon speed and reduced weight. I don't care for reduced weight on pistols. Anti-Armor, that's probably my favorite effect. Weapon speed, I'd rather have something like VATS hit chance or extra critical damage. So this is basically a 1-star. Yeah, and there's eviction notice coming up, and I'm on a server all by myself. Next, we've got a Berserker's the Dragon with bash damage and reload speed. Well, reload speed is basically a required effect for me to use something like this. The Dragon has such a slow reload that, yeah, if it doesn't have reload speed, I'm not going to use it. Bash damage, not really going to use it as a bash. I'd rather have VATS hit chance, honestly, on something like this, just because even with faster reload speed, it still takes a long time in between shots, so I want every shot to count. Berserkers is a good effect if you're playing that way, but this character is not. Next up, we've got a Nocturnal Gatling Gun with VATS hit chance and damage resist while reloading. So this is a heavy gun, which means more than likely you'll be wearing power armor when you're using it, so that 3rd star isn't going to do anything for you at all. It's not really a VATS weapon, the AP cost is fairly high, and it's better as a hip fire or manual aim, so that 2nd star is not going to do anything for you. And the 1st star is damage only half the time, or extra damage half the time, so this is something I'm going to get rid of. Next on our list is a Nocturnal, another Nocturnal. Okay, Ultra Sight Gatling Laser with bash damage and another damage resist while reloading. Yeah, getting the same effects over and over again, as often happens. So basically everything I just said about the Gatling gun applies to this. Bash damage, not really looking to bash with this. I'm looking to shoot things. So yeah, this is going away as well. All right, time to turn things around. Mutant Slayer short handmade with bash damage and +1 perception. So we've got enemy specific, which I'm not a fan of. Bash damage, not really looking to be bashing. So we have +1 perception, also not a fan of specials on ranged weapons. So overall, I don't like this at all. Next up, we've got Stalkers the Dragon with bash damage and reduced AP cost. Not really concerned about AP cost on this, just because you don't tend to stay in VATs because you're spending a lot of time reloading. So I'm not going to be spending a lot of time in VATs. So AP cost really isn't a concern with this. Plus, I'd rather have reload speed. Not looking to bash, although I'm guessing bash damage is pretty high just because the base damage is pretty high. Stalkers, fantastic effect in theory. In reality, I find it really unpredictable and not something I want at all. Next up, we've got a Ghoul Slayer's Fat Man with VATS hit chance and AP cost. Okay, with the Fat Man or any other kind of launcher weapon, you really want 2-shot, and you definitely don't need extra damage against ghouls. VATS hit chance is actually a pretty good effect on something like this. Reduced AP cost, this is another one of those that you're not going to be hanging out in VATS very long, so that's really not useful. So this is a middle star, one good star effect. Next up, we've got a Vampire's Alien Disintegrator with extra critical damage and stealth field. Well, that 3rd star is useless. Critical damage is good. Vampires, if you have this as an automatic, because you're firing really quickly, vampires could actually be useful. So this could be an interesting 2 stars, but nothing that I'd want to keep. Next on the list, we've got an Assassin's Radium Rifle with limb damage and damage resist while reloading. Okay, 3rd star, it's useful if you're not wearing armor, otherwise it's not. Limb damage could be good if you're interested in crippling humans with that first effect, but overall this is a throwaway. So far, this has been a bunch of awful stuff that makes me question all my life decisions. Hopefully we can do something about that right here. Not so much. No, Hunter's Salvage Assaultron Head with extra critical damage and reduced AP cost. Well, those 2nd and 3rd stars I really like. First star is a waste, and this weapon is also a waste. So on we go. Next up, we've got a Furious Combat Rifle with damage while aiming and +1 agility. If you're looking for something to manually aim, this is okay. It's not really the way I use this weapon. This is, combat rifles tend to be a little bouncy for my taste, so I'd rather be using VATS, not manually aiming. So that means that 2nd star isn't going to do anything for me. 3rd star, just a little bit extra agility, nothing I care about. Furious is kind of a mid-tier effect, actually mid to bottom tier, I would say, just because it takes 9 shots to get the maximum extra damage, and most enemies are going to be dead before that, so this is not something I want to keep. Next, we've got an anti-armor Fat Man with bash damage and damage resist while aiming. You want 2-shot on this. It's not 2-shot, so it's a throwaway. We are down to the final 5, and so far this has been a complete waste. Assassin's short Gatling gun with last round and 100% faster movement speed while aiming. Okay, you don't really need extra damage against humans. Last round on something that holds 250 rounds? Pretty stupid. Faster movement speed while aiming, don't really care for that effect either. All right, 4 to go. Bloodied short 10mm submachine gun with limb damage and 90% reduced weight. These are not terribly heavy, so you don't really need the reduced weight. Limb damage, I mean, if you just wanted to spray into a crowd, try and cripple enemies, that could be okay. Bloodied, again, if you're playing low health, that's a good effect. I am not, and I am getting rid of this. And then there were 3. 2-shot missile launcher with weapon speed and +1 agility. Well, 2-shot on this kind of weapon is exactly what you want. I'm not sure that I want weapon speed, although, yeah, I don't think weapon speed is actually going to do much for you if it's a single fire. Although I think they do have a mod. I'm not positive. I haven't really used missile launchers, but I think this has the ability to hold more than one. I'm not positive on that, but overall, this just doesn't interest me. The final 2, we have an Exterminator short double barrel with exploding bullets and damage resist while aiming. Okay, that 3rd star, not useful at all. Exterminators, extra damage against bugs and mirelurks, don't really need that at all. Explosive, kind of interesting, but overall, I mean, if I want to use a double barrel, I could just go to the cold shoulder, which is way better than this. So this gets thrown away. Thankfully, we are at the last one. This has been terrible. This has been really bad. So let's just wrap this up. Whether we get something good, bad, or otherwise, it is almost over, thankfully. Bloodied short Western revolver with exploding bullets and damage resist while aiming. Well, that 3rd star, not useful at all. But that 1st star, 2nd star, they go well together. So for a bloodied pistol character, a low health pistol character rather, this is actually a good weapon. And I would say this is probably the only usable thing I got out of all of this. So this was a really rough visit to the Purveyor. This may have been the worst one I've gotten so far. I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. If you did, please hit one of the buttons down below, and I hope you'll join me in the next one. Thank you very much.